Hello, my name is Ross Meyer. I'm a forester. I work for the state of Minnesota for the Department of Natural Resources. I work in the Zimmerman office, and I grew up in Maple Grove, but now I live in St. Michael. I didn't decide that I wanted to be a forester right in high school or right after. It took me a few years of doing some other work before I decided I want to go back to school and be a forester. So I think I was about 25 when I decided, and I was a few years older than the rest of my classmates when I was in college, but that worked out just fine. My favorite part of the job is all the different work that we get to do throughout the year, especially working for the DNR. We get a huge variety of stuff to do. We have inside work, outside work. If it's rainy or really hot in the summer, we don't have to work outside. There's always plenty of inside work to do in the office. But when it's really nice in the fall and in the spring, we're outside a lot. So I didn't want to be stuck in an office for my whole career. And this was a great career to get outside and do a lot of things that people do on the weekends for fun. I get to do during the week for my job and get paid to do it. So that's probably my favorite part of the job, is working outside and having such a huge variety of stuff to do throughout the year. Foresters do all different kinds of things depending on what time of year it is. So there's a lot of things different that we do in the winter than in the summer. There's also a lot of different things we do in the spring and fall. Some of the things we do in the summer are do plant surveys and tree surveys. We go out in the woods and count what's out there and see what kind of plants are living where and make maps of that. Different types of habitat for different plants. In the springtime, for a DNR forester, that means fire suppression season. All the wildfires and forest fires that happen in Minnesota are the DNR's responsibility to put out. So we get a lot of help from local fire departments, but we're the main ones to make sure that those fires go out. And in Minnesota, the fire season is in the spring. All the dead plants and grasses that were alive the previous summer are still dead in the spring. There's no green plants yet, and everything's dry and ready to burn. So that's when we have most of our fires. So a lot of the spring, that's what I do, is go out, fight fire. We have trucks, we have a lot of different vehicles. We have tracked vehicles. The DNR has helicopters and airplanes that we use to fight fires too. So that's a pretty fun time of the year, even though it is a lot of work. In the spring we also do tree planting. We normally don't plant the trees ourselves, but we supervise crews of planters. Some types of forest need artificially planted trees to regrow. Others will regrow by themselves after they're harvested. And the ones that need to have trees artificially planted, we'll go and supervise those crews. In the fall and winter, it's timber cruising time, and that means going out into the woods, measuring how much timber is in the forest, figuring out which areas of the forest can be cut and harvested. And most of the logging in Minnesota happens in the winter also. A lot of places need frozen ground so that the equipment doesn't damage the soil. So in the winter is when most of the logging in Minnesota happens, and we have to go supervise the logging in state forests and on state land to make sure the loggers are following our regulations, cutting in the right areas, cutting the right trees. And when those loggers are finished, they haul all the wood away on semi-trucks to different mills, and that wood gets turned into paper, furniture, pencils and rulers and desks, and a lot of things that you use in school, a lot of things that you use at home every day, like napkins, paper towels, toilet paper, books, baseball bats, plenty of fun stuff that we need wood and forest to provide for us. My scariest memory, normally I'm not scared at work, but there was one time I can think of where I was in the Nemadji State Forest up a little bit south of Duluth. It's a really big forest with not a lot of people in it, and I was way back, far away from the road, far away from the trail, working in a woods that was really close together, and I couldn't see very far. And I thought there was a wolf growling at me because I heard this noise. It was like roar. And I heard it again, and then it would stop, and I froze, and I looked around, and come to find out that it was just a big bumblebee going from flower to flower, and every time it flew it would make that growling noise. But that got me pretty freaked out for a few minutes. My most exciting memory is probably part of our fire suppression duties in the spring, where I was lucky enough to be on I'm a helicopter crew member. So part of the job is flying in a helicopter to fires that need helicopter support, and we get out of the helicopter, hook up the bucket, and then the helicopter pilot goes and dips that bucket into ponds and dumps it on the fire. But you get to see the fire from the air, and it's just fun to ride in the helicopter in the first place. So the last 2 springs I did that job for a few days and was lucky enough to get on a fire each of those years. For someone who's thinking about getting into forestry, I would recommend just doing well in school. It takes 4 years of college to be a forester, so starting in elementary school, if you stay up on your studies, do good in math, science, English, pretty much all the subjects you take in school are important in forestry. We do a lot of things where we have to talk to the public, we have to talk to lawmakers. It's not just doing work out in the woods. We have to talk to a lot of people too. So English is important. Obviously math and science are important because that's the main topics that we're dealing with. But yeah, do well in school and get out into nature, go camping, go outside, start making observations yourself, so when you start learning about things in college, more of it makes sense to you. So pretty basic advice there, but it is a great career, and I would recommend it to anyone who wants to work outside and have some good variety. Right here, today, in the background, we're burning some slash piles. This was an area that was harvested, the trees were cut, and loggers took the wood away to mills. And to clean up the ground and get it ready for planting, we had somebody come and pile up all the branches and stumps and other parts of the trees that the loggers left into big piles. And now to get it out of here and get that space ready for trees to be planted on it, we're burning those piles. So it's 4 below right now, and I think I'm gonna go get a little bit closer to some of these piles to warm up a bit. So thanks for listening.